U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in Israel for a two-day visit as the war in Gaza enters a new and volatile phase. The high-stakes trip follows an Israeli airstrike in Doha that targeted senior Hamas leaders. In Jerusalem, Rubio joined Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and U.S. envoy Mike Huckabee at the Western Mall. The leaders prayed together and placed notes at the sacred site, with Netanyahu calling the U.S. Israel alliance as strong and durable as the stones in the wall.
This is by way of greeting an extraordinary friend of Israel, Secretary of State of the United States, Marco Rubio, and his wife, Janet. I think his visit here is a testament to the durability, the strength of the Israeli-American alliance. It's as strong and as durable as the stones of the Western Wall that we just touched under President Trump and Secretary Rubio and their entire team. This alliance has never been stronger.
While the focus of the trip remains the aftermath of the strike in Doha and the ongoing war in Gaza, according to a report by Axios, Rubio will be discussing the West Bank annexation plan with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a response to the plan, recognition of the state of Palestine by numerous Western countries later this month. The report quotes Israeli and U.S. officials who have suggested that despite Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's indecisiveness over one such move, he will still seek President Trump's support for the action during two-day-long meetings. The report suggests that Rubio has signaled in private meetings that he will not oppose the West Bank annexations and the Trump administration will not stand in the way. This comes on the back of a United Nations General Assembly meeting on Friday, which endorsed the New York Declaration presented by France and Saudi Arabia, calling for an irreversible path for a Palestinian state. At least 142 countries voted in favor of the declaration, while 10 voted against it, among them the U.S. and Israel, and 12 countries abstained. Netanyahu on Thursday evening declared that there would be no Palestinian state while signing an agreement to push ahead with a controversial E1 settlement expansion plan that will cut across West Bank land. The settlement in the West Bank is located on the outskirts of Jerusalem, where thousands of housing or new housing units will be added. Meanwhile, Israel is ramping up its military campaign in the Gaza Strip with a wave of powerful airstrikes targeting residential areas and high-rise buildings in Gaza City. The latest, IDF bombed another high-rise building in Gaza City, and this is the moment showing Gazans running in panic as the building was reduced to rubble. The Israeli military said that the site was being used by Hamas operatives to observe troop movements and plan future attacks. Over the past month, the IDF has claimed to eliminate several Hamas terrorists and failed commanders in Gaza. The humanitarian crisis continues to worsen in the Strip. Gaza's health ministry says in the past 24 hours alone, Israeli airstrikes have killed 47 people and injured more than 200. Meanwhile, dozens of Palestinians have died from malnutrition in just one day, lifting the famine-related death toll to 400. Mr. Giorgio Cafiero is a professor at Georgetown University and the CEO of Gulf State Analytics, is now joining us live from Washington, D.C. It's good to see you, Mr. Cafiero, and thank you very much for your time. The IDF is continuing with its operations, striking down story buildings in Gaza. We all know what happened in Qatar or in Doha, and President Trump did tell Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that that was not a wise move. Then we have Rubio going to Israel and saying that he supports or he's showing support for Israel. What does that tell you?
Yeah, really great to be back on your network. Thanks for having me on as your guest. Um, as you laid out right now, there are some recent developments that the Trump administration is responding to. And of course, all of these developments need to be seen within the context of what's going to be happening later on this month in New York at the UN General Assembly, where there's going to be a real show of support for Palestinian statehood. Um, I think what's important to understand in the aftermath of the Israeli strike on Doha is that the Trump administration, while it may have come out with a response that aims to sort of navigate the tensions between Israel and Qatar, the Trump administration did make it clear to Israel that this operation targeting Hamas figures in the capital of Qatar is not going to impact the U.S. Israel relationship. It doesn't really mean all that much for the administration to come out with mild statements suggesting that this operation was unwise or that it supposedly angered the U.S. president. The message that the U.S. has sent to Israel is that there will not be consequences for this aggression against a very close U.S. ally in the Gulf. Now, what's also important to understand is that figures in Netanyahu's cabinet have been calling for annexing the West Bank, or at least annexing the majority of land in the West Bank. Therefore, what will be important is the discussions that Rubio has with the Israeli leadership here. My assumption, and I feel very confident in making this assumption, is that Rubio's message will be clear to the Israelis that the Trump administration will not in any way put pressure on Israel to not go ahead with such an annexation plan.
So what will be the significance of the United States backing this annexation plan, in your own view?
Well, I think we should keep in mind that after the Doha strike, I think practically everyone in the region understands that that aggression against Qatar was made possible because the U.S. allowed Israel to carry out that strike, and because the U.S. is not making Israel face any consequences for its aggression against Qatar. So if this West Bank annexation goes ahead, especially with, the green light from Washington, this will certainly intensify anti-American sentiments in the region. There is going to be, a lot of emotion, a lot of rage. I think Israel, if it were to annex the West Bank, or at least a large amount of territory in the West Bank, I think that's going to further radicalize certain elements in the region. This is going to definitely add a whole new layer of instability in the Middle East. And I am sure that Washington will have to deal with the blowback that comes from Israel making such a move, especially with U.S. support.
All right, Mr. Giorgio Cafiero, it's good to see you. Thank you very much for your time and for talking to us today.
Thank you.